Greetings and welcome to Halfling 13. It's June 23rd, and this is the latest news and happenings amongst the channel. Greetings and welcome to Halfling 13 Gaming. It's June 23rd, and this is the latest news and events from around the channel for our various activities and events. It's currently nice and sunny. The heat wave in Ohio has finally broken, and we have a lot of storms and clouds recently, although right now the sun is shining, so I'm taking the opportunity to get this recorded. But the 100+ degree temperature that we've had this last week is finally broken. We're down into the 80s. Current weather is forecasting for 80s throughout the rest of the week, so it should be finally nice and comfortable for everybody. As far as what's been happening, the first major change you may or may not have noticed, depending on if you're newer to the channel or have been with us for the last few episodes. First off, I haven't posted for a week or two. Been behind with schedule and various activities. We had some other big events I'll touch on in a little bit that ended up occupying most of the time, so I didn't get the opportunity really to put together a video for at least a week or two. The other thing you'll notice is that the channel is now separated. We have a Halfling 13 Viewport channel specifically set aside for this, in parallel to our Halfling roleplay and Halfling 13 tabletop gaming, which my intent there is to try to focus the audience, focus the material, because people who are interested in Legion may not be interested in this behind-the-scenes information. Those interested in the behind-the-scenes might not be interested in the tabletop, etc. The general feeling around with YouTube algorithms and such is that you try to keep everything focused and narrowed down. So that's my attempt. It may or may not work. I'm really just experimenting with this whole video thing, so we'll see how far it goes and what we can end up getting with it. So, but as a result, you see there's a new channel, Viewport, which is focused on this behind-the-scenes information and the blog. Probably won't touch on it in the future, but just wanted to make sure everybody understood what the difference was. The other big change that we've had is related to our website and our social media presence through Mastodon. I did some experimentation with add-ons and plugins, and I've configured now the Activity Pub add-on, I guess it is. I'm not 100% sure on what exactly Activity Pub is other than a protocol, but the basic functionality from my standpoint is that our website now has its own Mastodon entity that can be followed, interacted with, etc., in addition to my own personal one that I can discuss and talk about different topics. The advantage that brings is that I can now post on the website. It will auto-populate and publish to Mastodon, and then any responses, feedback, or updates related to Mastodon automatically feed into the website to keep everything in sync. Really just a tool of convenience, at least from my standpoint. We don't get a whole lot of traffic anyways, but if you're interested, feel free to follow the channel, follow the Mastodon link, as well as the website, and population and activity there is slowly increasing. A lot of stuff I end up reposting. This just saves me a couple of steps there to be able to cross-link information from one place to another. The other thing we added onto the website, which may or may not be of interest to people, is a public view of our calendar. So all of our gaming events, all of our other activities, whatever we schedule for our group, it gets created automatically in our Discord for public events and so forth. But I now also have a calendar linked directly into the website with a public view, so that if you want to know when our next Legion game is, or when we're playing our next round of Kingmaker or whatever, you can view our calendar and take a look. That's not the published dates as scheduled, it's when our actual activities are. So you can get a sense of how busy we are, the different pieces of our channel that we're doing, and trying to get a sense of the activities we're working on. Trying to keep that up to date as much as possible, mainly because it helps feed Discord, which in turn keeps the players notified and informed of what all our changes are. But we'll have to see how well that ends up working, whether it becomes impractical or not. The other big activities for this week were the last week, or actually, I guess, Friday, we released episode 84 of our Star Wars Legion Battle Reports. That was a special request suggested from some of our players. We've played Geonosians several times in the past, but in every case, the Geonosians pretty much get completely stomped within a couple of turns. They're fairly fragile, they're hard to play, we didn't really put a lot of focus on them. So the units that have been played have been sort of an extra couple of units. They don't really have the focus, and those separatist armies tend to just get completely stomped for the first couple of rounds. So we had one or two of our viewers ask, "Hey, can you set up a game where the Geonosians actually do well? Put more focus on them," which we took as a challenge. George took up the challenge of the Geonosians and built a full Geonosian army. Carter opted to play rebels with his, and built a rebel force to go up against them, not necessarily intending as an anti-Geonosian one, because that'd be kind of iffy. But the end result was the battle was very solid, very strong. Both forces were pretty evenly matched, and the battle ended up lasting well into turn 6 before it came down to a couple of clutch moves as to determine who the victor was. So overall, I think it was a good representation of Geonosians, what their relative strengths are, what some of their weaknesses are, and so forth. And it really got a bit exciting near the end as far as who ended up winning the battle. So if you're interested in that, Geonosians or the Rebels, feel free to watch the battle. It's currently posted on our YouTube channel, Halfling 13 Tabletop, or might just be Halfling 13. Getting confused nowadays with all these different channels. But all our Legion stuff is available there, and Battle 84 is currently posted as of Friday. The other thing we did this week was a training session. Due to our rescheduling of our Axis&Allies game, we had most of the week available. I had taken time off from work, and we had scheduled several different activities because one of our other players, Andy, was available, didn't have any other commitments, and wanted to get some Legion experience in. So what I did was I set up a series of scenarios. He was to build a rebel force as his chosen faction that he would then use in 3 consecutive games. One specifically against the Empire, one against the Separatists, one against the Republic, as a means of not necessarily to play competitively, but as a means to take our time, learn the game, and really help Andy fully understand what his units can do and can't do, as well as, while we're playing, give advice to, here's a different option, can you try, do you want to try this, do you want to try that, and really understand the strengths of his armies. Andy hasn't been able to play as much as some of our other players, and since our standard pattern is typically to build a brand new army, brand new mix every time we play, it's very difficult to really understand what they can and can't do. In this case, it was a fixed army. All he had to do was tweak it and really learn it. And through the games, once they get posted, you'll see a notable change in his tactics and his abilities. There was a lot of advice and guidance and so forth, but I think the learning experience of the rebel forces came in pretty strong, such that he notably improved as we went. End result was 2 games that were very close, and 1 game that was pretty much a blowout. But it was all very solid matches. He learned a lot about the capabilities. Myself and George, who were helping him out, learned a lot about the other factions as well, and the other different options and different tactics. And still gave him a challenge, a fun game, and so forth, without just handing it to him. Obviously, each of the armies were played to their abilities, but we did try to minimize how many special rules there were, or any sort of gimmicky type armies, trying to stick to more of the mainstream units and so forth. Just try to keep focused on the fact that the rebels were really the focus of the game. So those will be coming out as episodes 85, 86, and 87. Maybe this Friday, but given scheduling problems, it probably will end up being the following week. I'll post in the Legion channel when those are actually going to get released. But that leads into the other issue that we ended up having, which is this last week we had a big family reunion for my wife's side of the family. This is something they hold every couple of years, and this time it was down in Cincinnati. So we spent several days going back and forth between Dayton, where we live, and Cincinnati, and attending various activities. So the time off that I had was basically filled with recording game sessions, and then family activities, family reunion activities. Not much time to do editing and processing and so forth. So that's what today is trying to get caught up on different things. Like I said, with work scheduled, I don't know if I'm going to get it all done, or any of the new videos done by next Friday, but we'll see. End result was the reunion was very fun. Lots of family. I think the number was 120 people from the extended family in town for the actual events. It was a very big crowd. By the end of it, it was very politely, nice to see everybody, say goodbye to everybody and go home and get calmed down and not have the crowds. But it was very nice to see everybody. So my appreciation to everybody who decided to show up and come into the family, even though I'm the outsider and I'm just there to participate and support the wife and her side of the family. Looking to future plans, Traveler, we currently had a break because of both this reunion and other scheduling problems. Several of our players were out of town. That is set to resume on July 7th currently. Will be episode 3 of our Traveler campaign with the Pirates of Drinax. The group, if you recall, is currently lost in the Torpal system on the outskirts at a abandoned ancient space station or outpost, dealing with a marooned pirate and an alien menace known as the Chamax, a bug-like creature that had been residing in the station that got activated or alerted when the group boarded it trying to find the marooned pirate. They're currently on their way out, having dealt with at least one of the bugs, and are concerned about the potential for hordes and floods of other insectoids and so forth in the place. So that'll be resolved hopefully on July 7th. For Warhammer, our next game is this week on Wednesday, be episode 12 of Chapter 5, as the group continues their efforts in the moat house, specifically in the underdepths underneath it. During the last session, they managed to explore down into the dungeon area where they found an old dwarven ceremonial crypt, I guess you would call it. Basically an old dwarven outpost that had been converted into upstairs on the surface a normal settlement or a castle, but down below it was the remnants of dwarven crypts and coffins and so forth. Amongst that area, they came across several sources of chaos, some glowing green goo type stuff flowing through the place. Obviously the area of interest for the villain Eric that they've been trying to track down and find. And near the end of the session, they ended up encountering the creature that Eric had become at this point. The group was becoming rather overwhelmed. The witch character had ended up fumbling a spell, went crazy with the magic, and next thing you know, he was on fire and burning and bleeding and all sorts of everything, and pretty much going to die fairly quickly, while various fire elemental type creatures were dancing out of the magic and attacking the group and so forth, and some of the group was starting to panic. So this next session will potentially be the end, I guess. But we'll have to see how far the characters get and what they can do to save the day, or if they decide to retreat. The fun thing about Warhammer is there's no guarantee that the group will survive or even be the heroes. Frequently they will get killed and will get chased off because they are adventurers and not saviors of the world in a Warhammer setting. So tune in for that. That'll be recorded on Wednesday of this week. The other game session we have coming up is Kingmaker this coming Sunday, which will be our second episode of the Pathfinder campaign. The group is currently in Restov at the Palace. They were getting their initial background storyline and so forth at a big party and banquet in their honor, meeting with other NPCs and so forth when the castle came under attack at night. And now they're currently wandering through the palace trying to find equipment, allies, etc., and rescue who they can while dealing with the threats that are attacking the place. That hopefully will happen on Sunday this week and then be published as usual next week some point. The reason I say hopefully is because the other big thing that we have scheduled this week, specifically on Friday and Saturday, is our long-awaited Axis&Allies game. Surprisingly difficult to get 8 players or so to get together and have a fixed schedule that'll cover a couple of days. Up for the challenge. It'll be interesting. Right now we have, I want to say all 8 committed to Friday and Saturday. So 6 p.m. on Friday until maybe 11 or 12 at night, and then start the following day at around noon and go as late as we can to hopefully finish the game, or at a minimum get to a point where the end is fairly obvious. We know where it's going. It'll be interesting. We have lots of plans, but of course life is getting in the way at this point, and we're trying to struggle to make sure that everything actually, we commit to everything and keep things going. because between the efforts I put into it and what the wife is doing for food preparations and so forth, it gets kind of iffy to start canceling things last minute. So, like I said, that'll be being done on Friday and Saturday, and then assuming we get through it, then we'll have Kingmaker on Sunday. If we don't and everybody decides we want to play an extra day, then we'll postpone Kingmaker and continue Axis&Allies potentially on Sunday. But fingers crossed that won't be necessary. So, okay, I've been going over, at least the last time, is basic statistics and growth for the channel. Obviously this channel itself is new. We have a sum total of 3 subscribers, that being myself in a couple of different entities, just to give a couple of initial numbers. So as usual, if you're interested in this sort of content, please like and subscribe. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you do like, what you don't like, if you have any suggestions, or if you have any activities you'd like to see us attempt or give a try to. I'm always interested in feedback. As far as our main channel, the Halfling 13 tabletop one, that's still doing the strongest by far, obviously where all the interest is. Over the last couple of weeks, we've added 13 subscribers, bringing us to 704. So moving rather steadily towards the 1,000 mark, which is really our goal. After that, functionally on YouTube, you don't really pay much attention to subscribers because you're either monetized or you're not. 1,000 is the magic number that gets you monetization. So at that point, hopefully, a few pennies will start helping to support the channel. The role-playing channel, on the other hand, has been stable. 64 subscribers, don't really see any changes on that. Doubt we will get very many, but again, if you're interested in role-playing content, consider subscribing to that channel, join us in, and listen in on some of our storylines that we have. Always have plenty of material on that, and many years worth of back history if you care to sit through any of those videos. It's also a good place for all of our players to go back and refresh their memory on prior episodes and events and so forth. As far as the website, doing good for June, partially because of the Mastodon updates, other postings I've been putting there, and just miscellaneous awareness. We're up to 247 views for June thus far, another week or so to go. So we should be able to outdo what we did for May, which came in at 289 views for that month. But still small potatoes in the realm of the internet. This is just something I'm just keeping track of it, just mainly for my own purposes. Doesn't have much interest for other people. And then on Mastodon, given the new website channel versus my own personal one, I'm at whole 2 followers. Again, that's predominantly just myself following myself, just so that I can make sure everything's working and so forth. So don't really even consider that much of anything. As far as Etsy, I have made some progress there. I sold another digital file, so we're up to $15 for June. And let's see, $262 total lifetime. Still not really turning over a major profit there, but the digital designs are available. I did at least brief or temporarily disable or drop the pre-cut paint rack plans, at least the old style one that I had, mainly because I don't currently have any of the 1/8 inch plywood. When we went to Home Depot this last time to buy some more plywood, I ended up not paying it close enough attention, I guess, and what I thought was 3mm was actually 5mm, so it's the thicker wood. I could still cut it, but my plans specifically need to have the thinner wood, otherwise the slots just don't go together. So rather than having to scramble if somebody actually orders any, I figure, okay, let me just disable it for the time being. When I get some more material, then I'll reactivate and put it back on. But in the meantime, the digital files are available. You can certainly buy them and then cut your own. Or as usual, all of these plans, designs, etc. that I have are all available to our YouTube members if you follow and join the tabletop channel. That's pretty much the news for this week, at least for the last couple of weeks. My plan going forward is still to post this once a week. Scheduling has not been kind. I'm still thinking Sunday is the right day, purely from a scheduling time frame, but it requires me to record in the morning or Friday or Saturday night and then do the editing and post. That can be challenging depending on the weekend, other activities, etc. So I don't really have a good night that I can reliably do this related to work or other things. So it may be hit and miss here and there, which is fine. Again, the only viewers are really myself, so this is really only for my own personal interest. But maybe it'll grow, maybe it'll catch on. As always, I continue to push the TabletopTube concept, and encourage anybody to join in with their own channels and use the hashtag and so forth. Maybe we can start something here. So otherwise, I appreciate your time. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hearing me ramble on, and we'll talk again in a week or so. Thanks a lot.